Guys, thanks so much for that carrier update. Right now, let's bring in our next live guest. Joining us from Atlanta, Mark Solomon joins us, and we'll be talking about UPS and an interesting prediction in terms of what may happen to them should they see a strike in the not-too-distant future with that August 1 deadline looming. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah, so now an interesting prediction here from Satish Jindal, the owner of Ship Matrix, who has not been far off in what he's been talking about in terms of FedEx not too long ago, and now UPS now with a very interesting conjecture. Can you go into this communique that he sent us?
Well, first off, these are his projections. It's based on a level of intuition and experience as well as data.
Sure.
And he believes that for every delay in reaching an agreement, you could lose 1 million packages. UPS could lose 1 million packages. It's already seeing diversion to FedEx. FedEx is being very aggressive in now going after UPS business. Last week it said if shippers expect to be onboarded and have their packages moved in the event of a work stoppage, it has to be done now. And on top of that, from what I've been told, FedEx, is requiring that shippers that move over sign a multi-year contract, which will be subject to penalties if they decide to leave. That means, in effect, FedEx is saying to customers, look, we want your business, but we expect to have your business. We don't expect you to go back to UPS from us once the strike is over. Yesterday, actually Sunday, the Postal Service rolled out a service called Ground Advantage, which is a 2 to 5 day delivery service designed to compete with FedEx and UPS. And yesterday they held postal officials held a news conference, or webinar actually, in which they said, we are going to be very aggressive going after UPS business, and we believe that we can handle it. You're talking 18.6 million parcels as of the end of the first quarter in the U.S. alone. Neither side here can afford a strike bill. I mean, it's going to cost both sides a tremendous amount of money, business, and goodwill on the part of UPS customers. But it's a game of chicken right now. We've got less than 3 weeks to go till the contract expires. There are no talks scheduled. So we really don't know where we're going here.
And Mark, there seems to be a lot of comparisons that are rightfully drawn to 1997 with some of the variables that you mentioned earlier, especially with FedEx. Are you seeing that this is going to be something that is going to be potentially similar or something different altogether?
Completely different, Anthony. FedEx Ground did not exist in 1997 when the UPS strike occurred. E-commerce didn't exist. The many competitors who are out there today did not exist. So and you did not have these multi-carrier technology platforms which help customers find alternative carriers who can perhaps meet the needs of UPS shippers. That's not to say that there won't be a tremendous disruption. There will be. But it's not the same marketplace that it was in 1997. A lot more competitors.
Yeah. Mark, looking at it in terms of just the overall aspect of shipping parcels in general, do you see this as a situation where is this kind of like a blood in the water situation and you've got sharks that are swimming and this is going to be a very, very, very bad situation for UPS, regardless of if they get this deal done on time, or is there something still they can salvage here as they move closer and closer to August 1st? Again, like you said, not much movement happening right now, but if they were able to get a job done or get a deal done, can they save some face out of this?
Sure. if they get a deal done.
Okay.
They've got, like I said, less than 3 weeks. You know, there's a lot of shippers kind of expected this. They didn't want it, but they kind of thought that this would get pushed close to the limit. But there's nothing that will stand in the way of UPS getting back to business than a contract with the Teamsters Union in the next, I don't know, week or two, but they need to get back to the table. No one is talking. No talks are scheduled. You can't negotiate if you're not sitting across from each other. And every day that goes by and nothing is scheduled creates a level of enhanced angst, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. So just kind of following up on that, if we get to August 1st, if we see a strike, if we see a deal done directly after that, maybe in the next week or so after that, how much of a delineation is there between getting a deal done before that date and one maybe shortly thereafter? Is that something that could be detrimental?
You got to get a deal done before the date, Bill, because once a strike occurs, all bets are off in terms of how parcels get moved. I mean, UPS has an incredibly complicated and highly synchronized network. It's amazing what they do every day. I mean, 18.6 million, if that's the number you want to use.
Sure.
97, 98, 99% on time delivery. This is a highly refined and sophisticated system. If it goes away, meaning, management can only do so much, and there's great technology that UPS has that can help. But if you're sitting there with 18 million parcels moving every day in very complex ways, once a strike occurs and the Teamsters hit the streets, it's going to be a difficult situation. So it's a big deal that this get done before the deadline is July 31st at midnight. At 12:01 August 1, the Teamsters can strike because there will not be a contract unless one is obviously signed and ratified. But there's not a lot of time.
Certainly not a lot of time, and I could only imagine that really being moved forward even more, because once a deal potentially is reached, I can only imagine that there needs to be a vote within the Teamsters to accept that deal. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's how Sean O'Brien couches it. He said, we want a contract. That means a deal that can be approved by the leadership, that the leadership can then send with confidence, as they call it, to the membership, and the membership can ratify. And, we'll see what happens. The Teamsters have made it very, very clear that there is no attempt at extensions. You could say that there's going to be you could have an extension. You could go to August 3rd, August 6th. The Teamsters have put so much stock behind the fact that there's not going to be a single extension beyond midnight of July 31st at 12:01. It's over. And it's impossible, given the politics that are involved here, especially with the Teamsters, it's impossible to think that they're going to go back at this late stage, go back on that premise that there won't be any extensions beyond the end of the contract.
And if there's any doubt in that, you just look at Yellow at this particular point when they've said they're willing to give up 22,000 jobs on that particular front there as well. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, we'll keep a very close eye on the situation.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of the day.
You as well. All right. So, again, tough situations there for UPS in terms of trying to get forward and moving. It's going to be an interesting next few weeks. Hopefully, they can get a deal done there as well. We'll take a short break and come back with more for what was now after this.